Hey guys, it's TJ Pandora Teer here, also known as Auntie Pan Pan to some of you. I am really sorry. I have been dealing with a psychic fair. I was dealing with a food drive. I went to Las Vegas to hang out with vampires for a week. Felt like a week. It felt like forever, actually, but I digress. I have not even had the chance to actually sit down and unpack. So I'm just kind of been running like a lunatic. I have some stuff. I am not even recording in my own place right now. I am actually thankfully recording at the Dragon and the Rose right now because they're like, well, you need to record something. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I should do that. So here I am. Hi. I have 2 Goth tags. I'm going to do one Goth tag video right now, and I'm going to post the other one later. And this one, I believe, came from Heavy Metal Mama, and she is on Facebook. I will link her below. And I saw the tag, and I thought it was totally cool. So I figured, I'll do that too. And I have to write it down because I'm recording on my phone because I don't know why my camera is doing funky things. So anyway, so I wanted to talk about the Goth tag. And I have been basically goth or witchy or vampy since probably, I would guess, 1988. So this is a tag in response to the Goth tag video. So question number 1. How long have I been a goth? Good question. I've been intrigued with a gothic lifestyle. Now you have to really kind of do the sub-segment thing for me for goth, because to me, goth is really bad poetry, coffee houses, and clove cigarettes, and punk, because I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. So it's a little different for me. So I would say that I've probably been goth since 88, since 1988, maybe 84. Now, I've been into vampires all my life. So you have to kind of segregate the goth from the vampire thing, you know, because I've been into vampires all my life. But the goth, I was into goth. I just liked wearing the color black. And I was a child also of the 70s. Bear in mind, I was a youngling in the 70s, but still I was in the 70s. And everything was made of polyester or brown. And yuck. So when the 80s came, oh, there's different colors and there's wild neons, and I hate that too. And I can't stand the color pink. And, you know, so it was just this kind of, where do I fit? And then I discovered, you know, more horror movies, and I loved the horror genre, and Elvira, and there were some other midnight TV hosts called Zachary, you know, up in Northern California. And I was just like, this neon world of the 80s is not my world, okay? It's not my shtick. So when I discovered Cyndi Lauper, who, yes, loved neons and bright colors, she was a little more punk, and I owned like an entire side of a closet full of crinolines, okay? And if you don't think Cyndi Lauper was punk, you are sorely mistaken, my friends. So I discovered goth because I was part of what was called New Romantic. And New Romantic and vampires and wearing Victorian outfits and having picnics in graveyards. Somebody says to me, oh, you're goth. And I'm like, what's goth? Oh, it's like punk and New Romantic bred and had a baby. Oh, then I guess that's what I am. Aurelio Voltaire said it best, that he viewed himself as a hippie that discovered the color black. And I have to agree with him. I was always more into a hippie thing. I got hooked on Fleetwood Mac in the 70s when I was a kid. And, you know, I would twirl. I would flip and twirl. And with my scarves. And I worked the Renaissance Fair. And I did Rocky Horror. So when you breed the Renaissance Fair and Rocky Horror and New Romantic all together and reading vampire books, you're going to find there's some goth in there. So that's kind of, I guess, I'll say 88, just to ease my brain to not think so much. I'm going to say 88. 2. How were you introduced to goth? I'm going to say the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah, I also would like to believe that probably Oingo Boingo, though a more upbeat version, they were more ska, I think. It depends. Let me know what you think about that. What is exactly Oingo Boingo? Because I would see them, and then I'd go see how Red Hot Chili Peppers. I like a whole different myriad of different musics. I like the comedy workings of Voltaire. I love the serious music too. I love Susie and the Banshees. I love The Cure. Some people say, oh, The Cure's not goth. Back in the day, to me, it was goth. So, I don't know. I mean, you tell me. How were you introduced to goth? I started hanging out with a bunch of goths, or new romantics, at the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I started playing the role of, take a wild shot in the dark, what character you think I played at the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'll wait. Yes, I played Magenta. I did Magenta for years, and I actually met Patricia Quinn, which was Lady Patricia Quinn, so sorry, at a convention a few times, and fascinating woman. Love her to pieces. So imagine my chagrin when I saw her in a Rob Zombie movie. I was like, holy crap. So I was introduced to goth probably thanks to Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah, I'll give them that. Even though it was punk, a lot of new romantic people were friends of mine. I'm going to say I'll thank the Rocky Horror Picture Show for my gothiness. 3, what gothic subgenre would you put yourself in? There's a part of me that wishes I could do tribal, but it's so much work to put those things on my head. I'm a lazy goth. I am not as new romantic as I used to be. I'm more of a hippie goth. If that's tribal goth, then I guess so be it. I like wearing fangs sometimes and trundling across the nightclubs. I do not go blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes, I do go blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, okay. But is there really a need, honestly, for a label as to what I am? Your thoughts? Because I don't think we need labels anymore. I thought we got past labels, who cares? If you're going to label me, I'm Pandora. Hi. There you go. 4, what do you believe to be the basis of the gothic subculture? Well, I'm going to have to shoot it in the dark and say punk. But you also have to understand, yes, that's the mainstream answer everybody gives nowadays now, isn't it? It's punk. Punk created the gothic subculture. Well, yes, it did. But everybody seems to forget, well, the royal everybody, the new romantic part. And the new romantic is a very key and crucial part to the gothic subculture. And I don't see many people talking about new romantic, which, is kind of sad. Because that was a very key part. I mean, with the hair up to here and hairspray and the big floofy sleeves and reading Byron and Shelley and Oscar Wilde and, some people draping themselves on a Shea lounge next to their air conditioner, blowing bubbles out of a pipe pretending to be opium and having bottles of Listerine pretending it to be absinthe and going, I'm so tragic. Oh, would you like to sit here on my settee and we will wax and wane poetry and I shall wear pointy teeth and I shall nom upon your ankle and go blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, that was the 80s and the 90s. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up the 90s right there. Half the 90s at least. Yeah. I'm from California. We're all kind of crazy here. It's true. But yeah, I would have to put new romantic with punk and they had a baby. Voila. Goth. 5, what do you dislike about being a goth? Well, I don't like labels. I hate labels, actually. And I think, when you hear, oh, so goth, and goths become so mainstream, and, oh, they're selling out, and yeah. Really? Because when I was growing up as a goth, we couldn't find corsets. You had to make corsets, which is why I ended up working the Renaissance Fair, because I learned how to make a corset, because you couldn't buy a corset in the 80s. You had to make one. And if you did find a place that you could purchase a corset, we're looking at a lot of money that an 18-year-old don't got. You're looking at a lot of money at some corsets now a normal person does not have. So, you kind of had to learn to finagle. I was one of the luckier goths. I came from a moderately higher wealthy family, or not wealthy, they were kind of like upper middle class kind of thing. So it wasn't so, ooh, you can't find that special hat. But is it a thing? Is it really? I think one of the things I do dislike being a goth is the standardization that every goth is a size small. Body positivity here. The older some goths get, the heavier we're getting. I used to be a size 14, and look at me now. As lowest was I ever in my life, a 12. At the least, I was a 12. I have never been a size 1, a size 2, and it's very upsetting, I think, to probably some younger goths that are heavier or larger personalities. All their friends have this particular outfit and they can't, and then they have to learn to improvise. I think that's where DIYing came in handy for me growing up, because I knew how to sew. I knew costuming. I took costuming in college, and I learned that you can wing it by making something, because no matter what the trend, you can find a way to make it your size. And corsets are just like that as well. And I think that's what upsets me, is that even though we are finding more and more plus sizes in the goth community, there are a few of you that are still using extra small for a triple X. Come on now, really? So be fair with your sizes. So that's what I do dislike, is that, and also you don't have to be a cookie cutter image of every single person that you see on a certain specific goth clothing website. You don't have to look like that. You don't always have to look like you jumped out of American Horror Story. I see a lot. Also, this new witch, new goth, new vamp, and new goth, new witch, new vamp. Guys, it's the same thing. You just shook it up and put a new hat on it. I mean, come on. Really? It's not new. It's the same thing. Just stirred up a little bit more flavor. So that's probably what I don't like. If I had to say anything at all. What do your parents think of me being goth? They're both dead. Number 7, eyebrows or no eyebrows? I like my eyebrows. Now, some people can get away with, shaving their eyebrows and they can paint them back in. I suck at painting eyebrows, and I shaved my eyebrows once in my entire life. Actually, they waxed them off completely. It wasn't even my choice. They just, we thought you wanted it all waxed. No! So I ended up having to paint. I wore a lot of hats for about 6 months until they came back. And after that, I was like, I'm never shaving them off again. Now, I have done a drag trick or two where I have friends. I lived with 3 drag queens in Long Beach at one point, and in a big old penthouse thing. I lived with 3 drag queens, and they taught me a few things and a few tips and tricks on how to look fabulous on stage or entertaining and so forth. So, I know the whole glue it down and paste it down thing. I choose not to, because I have very animated eyebrows and I like them where they're at. Thank you. Going back to my parents, and if I was goth, my mom didn't care. My mom had no F's to give. Her field of F's were barren. She liked me just being me. She thought I could do and achieve anything I wanted. And I even got her in goth makeup and came out to clubs with me many's a time. And, I miss you, Mom. She was very open about it. My father, on the other hand, thought I was working for the devil. And I said, yes, I work for you, Dad. So, there was a lot of, I was a very sarcastic witch. Yeah. No, he didn't like it. He thought it was a phase. He was praying it was for a phase. But then when he found out I was a witch, it was even worse. But I really didn't live with my dad. I lived with my mom and my uncles and my aunt. So it didn't matter really what my dad thought, because I wasn't living with him. That's it. 8. What is your favorite bands? I think I've said a few of them already. I do like Marilyn Manson, which is going right into the next one. I like Suicidal Tendencies too, by the way, which is not goth. I love Oingo Boingo. I don't love just goth music. Corvus Corvax. I do like Black Tape for a Blue Girl. I like, oh my gosh, I don't know if any of you know who Hungry Lucy is. Loved Hungry Lucy. I was lucky that I grew up in California because we got to see a lot of bands that, you know, are very heavy goth. And I got to see KMFDM as well. I got to see the Electric Hellfire Club. So, you know, I've got to see, I can't even think of all the bands I've gotten to see over my life. 45 Grave. So, you know, there's a lot of really cool bands that are out there. And there's a lot of bands that not a lot of people know about. I love Kirk's Shadows. I do love Kirk's Shadows. And that was why it was so cool to go to the Endless Night Vampire Ball this year, because I got to see everybody Rogue and everybody for Kirk's Shadows. That was epic. That was totally epic. There's a lot of really good music out there. I also love Beethoven and Mozart and Moliere. Wait, that's a writer. Is that a musician or a writer anymore? I can't go. My brain has not had enough coffee yet. No, Moliere's a writer. I can't brain today. But there's a lot of really good specimen. Did I say specimen? You know, I listened to a lot of goth music growing up. I used to go to a lot of clubs. And what's funny is a lot of music, I didn't know who the band was, but I liked the song. And be like, oh, it's the Go song. And I'm like, yeah, at goth clubs. And I thought that was hilarious. And I do love Dead Can Dance. To me, Dead Can Dance is goth music. And then I hear a lot of people going, that's not goth. That's ethereal. And I'm like, that's what? Okay, moving on. You're going to like what you're going to like. I think you should like whatever you like. Who gives a rip? What? What is my opinion on Marilyn Manson? I like a lot of older Marilyn Manson stuff. I really haven't listened to a lot of Marilyn Manson stuff of late, but I do like his old music. I love Nine Inch Nails, and everybody says, oh, they're industrial. They're not goth. They're industrial then. I guess I'm industrial. Sometimes I wonder if I even am really goth. Maybe I'm just a bohemian that also discovered the color black. You know, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just tribal. Maybe I'm just an artist. Maybe we shouldn't even label each other. Maybe you be you and I'll be me. And if it's goth, it's goth. And if it's not, you know, what the hell else? Who cares? So, final one. What were your baby bat days like? Whoo! I used to drive around in my VW microbus named Wolfgang after I graduated high school. I was doing Rocky Horror while I was still going to a Christian high school. That was fun. I was also practicing witchcraft. Also fun while going to a Christian high school. And highly encouraged by my mother, by the way. I, at one point, was thinking about becoming a Catholic nun. Not encouraged by my mother at all in any way, shape, or form. I backed out because I like to buy shoes and sex. I like sex. That's why I did not become a Catholic nun. True story. I like shopping, so I didn't become a Catholic nun. Instead, I became a witch. I spent an entire summer following the Grateful Dead in a VW microbus all the way to Vegas. I worked every Renaissance fair I could get my hands on for years. And I did a lot of after parties. I did a lot of movie stuff. I was a movie extra. And I did a lot of creepy films because I was the creepy girl, the spooky chick. Oh yeah, put her as an extra in this club scene thing. Ooh, she's spooky. Blah, blah, blah. She's got fangs. Put her over here in the corner. Ooh, ah. Yeah, that was my life. And what's really funny is I look back on my life now and it has not changed. Some things never change. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for my tag. I want to thank everybody for, I think it was the Haunted Bat and Heavy Metal Mama. I'll put thanks to them down below. And if you are interested in doing your own tag, totally go ahead, do it. I encourage this. As for right now, I wish you all Zen hugs. Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.